What you see here on my screen was the big news over the weekend. However, due to my channel being on thin ice with YouTube these days, I will not be touching it here. However, I will be doing a significant comprehensive breakdown of this whole thing and how it impacts Canada, how it impacts our view on the world stage, and also impacts our relationship with the United States. I will be posting that over on Rumble. You can see the link down in the comments. You can check it out there. However, we will be talking about other things on this show today for this segment, which is Donald Trump made a huge move in terms of how they're going to be treating temporary foreign workers in the United States, how that's going to impact us here at home, as well as news has broken that our trading relationship with those abroad has actually not changed. And we are now learning that, well, Mark Carney's moves that he's made with other countries actually hasn't borne any fruit. And our relationship with the United States and our trading relationship with the US is only getting worse. And that came out via industry over the weekend. In addition to the awesome, heartfelt Charlie Kirk Memorial yesterday, we'll be getting into all of it. Welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Josh. If you get any value from today's episode, take the time to like, share, and subscribe. It helps us to grow, helps to get to new audiences, and helps people see that there's something different than what the mainstream media has to offer. Now, let's get into our first story, shall we? First off, this was awesome. We were happy to see this take place yesterday. I'm not gonna lie, it was a marathon. Where they did somewhere 5 to 6 hours. That service was yesterday. So those who were in person, congratulations, you made it through. That was something else. And but obviously the moment of the night was Erica Kirk's moment on stage, sharing this heartfelt message with those who were in attendance.
That young man on the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
I think Jasmine Lane said it best. We are not the same. One side promotes violence and promotes riots and getting in cops' faces and torching buildings in response to a cause that they care about. And this was the response to someone who is very impactful on the right-hand side of the spectrum, saying, we are not going to be moving forward with hate. We are not going to look to retaliate. We simply need to love, and that's how it's going to have to be, because that is what our belief system indicates, at least those who believe in God and in Jesus. I think that was a very powerful moment. And on that note, if you remember again, the whole stupid rhetoric going around about how this guy was a MAGA-affiliated assassin, this, that, the other. Alexa Lavoie of Rebel News was in Montreal yesterday doing what she does best, and that is documenting what's happening with some of these protests and Antifa, this, that, the other. And, well, she caught something on camera just to kind of remind people of the ideology that this individual espoused before killing Charlie Kirk.
Bella ciao, Antifa song. Bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, 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 partigiano.
So you got that loud and clear. You have Antifa out there doing their thing, listening to old Bella ciao. And if you remember, that was what was engraved on the bullets that they found on the scene. So, yeah, say whatever you want, man. Antifa is very much real. It's a very real thing. Donald Trump calling them or deeming them a terrorist organization, I think, been a long time coming. And if you remember, even 2020, the gaslighting campaign from Joe Biden saying, Antifa is not a real thing. That's just an idea. Yeah. You tell that to the people whose businesses have been burned down, have been assaulted, have been hurt, have been hospitalized by Antifa. Yeah, they're just a figment of our imagination, aren't they? And they very much have a huge presence in Montreal here in Canada. This stuff cannot be tolerated. We cannot continue to allow them to do what they've been doing, and they should be deemed a terrorist organization, but our Liberal government here in Canada are spineless, and will still continue to acknowledge that they don't exist because, well, they serve a means to an end for the Liberal Party of Canada, and that is the fact that they keep the other side in check on their behalf without saying so. Oh, did I say that out loud? Whoops. Did I say that? My bad. I'll say it again, though. Donald Trump made a big move in terms of their immigration policy that is actually going to severely impact us here at home. He announced that the H-1B visa, which the closest equivalent we would have here in Canada is our temporary foreign worker program, they are now going to be charging businesses $100,000 a year to employ someone on an H-1B visa. They are significantly shrinking the pool and really ramming home the point of having this visa in the first place, and this was their statement on it.
One of the most abused visa systems in our current immigration system has been the H-1B non-immigrant visa program. This is supposed to allow highly skilled laborers who work in fields that Americans don't work in to come into the United States of America. What this proclamation will do is raise the fee that companies pay to sponsor H-1B applicants to $100,000. This will ensure that the people they're bringing in are actually very highly skilled and that they're not replaceable by American workers. So it'll protect American workers, but ensure that companies have a pathway to hire truly extraordinary people and bring them to the United States to work.
We need workers. We need workers. We need great workers. And this pretty much ensures that that's what's going to happen. I think, Sean, do you agree with that?
Well, they're $100,000 per year. So the whole idea is no more will these big tech companies or other big companies train foreign workers. They have to pay the government $100,000, then they have to pay the employee. So it's just not economic. If you're going to train somebody, you're going to train one of the recent graduates from one of the great universities across our land, train Americans, stop bringing in people to take our jobs. That's the policy here, $100,000 a year for H-1B visas, and all of the big companies are on board. We've spoken to them about the gold card.
They love it. They love it. They really love it. They need it. Go ahead, Sean.
Mr. President.
And as I said, it's really hard to find like an apples to apples comparison to an H-1B visa to our Canadian visa here in Canada, but essentially the temporary foreign workers program is probably the closest one we can find, even though ours is being used for low-skilled labor. And H-1B has been semi-used for that, but a lot of it's been heavily used in tech in the United States. But this was really interesting because, well, again, this is a data that's about 3 years old, but it is fairly interesting. This is the makeup of the H-1B visa approvals in the United States. A big chunk of them, over 72% of them, come from India. The next is over 12% come from China. Then the next big portion of this is 1% from Canada, 0.9% from Korea, and 0.8% from the Philippines. This is why I find this very interesting, because we'll see where this really all goes. Again, this is 3-year-old data. However, I don't imagine the makeup has changed much over the past 3 years, but we'll see what this means for Canada as a whole. Will these workers now be looking for work in Canada to be able to stay within North America? And this comes back to the conversation around our border and the strength of our border. What does this mean for that relationship and the fact that we haven't done much about our border and the Trump administration knows about that? Do people go back to their countries of origin after this is implemented? Where does this go? We will have to wait and see. However, because we're seeing pressure on our temporary foreign workers program here, I'm sure we'll start seeing some influx from the fallout of this policy decision in the United States impacting our temporary foreign workers program here in Canada. Because, well, even though there's been a lot of talk about how it needs to end, how it's been abused, how it's been misused, this, that, the other, there's been nothing done about it. A lot of noise is being made about it, which is good. Michelle Rumpel-Garner and team have been doing so. However, it's still doing what it's currently doing. So this will likely lead to another influx of people coming into Canada and filling jobs that otherwise Canadians likely would be able to fill, causing more of a pressure on our unemployment here in this country. We'll see where it goes. We'll be keeping a close eye on this over the coming months. However, this is why Michelle Garner's work right now and the Conservatives is going to be so important on this temporary foreign workers program because, well, Linda Diab, the immigration minister, likely her days are numbered. She's been terrible. Even liberals are just like, oh man, get her out of here. CBC's been like, yo, she's got to go. She's been horrendous. She's got a terrible record. Clearly isn't ready for the moment. Clearly isn't ready for the job. And when you have Michelle Garner facing across from you across the aisle, life's going to be tough. Michelle Garner's been around. She's been doing federal politics for a long time, and she's angry. If you saw the interview with her on our show, you know just how fired up this woman is, and she's ready to go. And Linda Diab clearly is not. I'll leave it at that. So we'll see where this all goes. This decision in the United States is going to add huge pressure to our temporary foreign worker program, likely here in Canada. Again, it's not going to be apples to apples, one-to-one, because again, the H-1B visa program is a little bit different than temporary foreign workers program, but there will be some crossover, adding more pressure to our system here at home. And on that note, again, of negotiating with Donald Trump, negotiating with the United States, trying to find a trade deal that makes sense. Well, news broke late last week over the weekend of where things are currently at with our exports and our imports, and it's not looking too bright at the moment.
From Statistics Canada shows even as exports rose in July, goods to countries other than the United States dropped for the second month in a row, while imports remain near their 4-year peak.
Outside of energy and outside of services, when you look at what's growing in terms of our trade, the rest of it is not grown at all. There's going to be challenges there, even to find other markets outside of the U.S.
Energy and critical minerals are ingrained in Canada's pitch to allies, highlighted in its new partnership with Mexico. TD estimates Canada has at least $300 billion worth of priority critical mineral deposits, but most of it is still underground.
The timeline is not a few years. It's going to be 10, 20 years at least, no matter what we do.
And for the energy resources Canada already has access to, shipping LNG to Europe cheaply and quickly.
Can't kid ourselves. There's no easy fix. Canada has let a decade slip by where we didn't really build many things. And that's a problem right now in our insecure world.
Experts say the timeline shouldn't stop Canada from pursuing these projects, but warn the payoff is distant and won't be a solution to the tariff pains of today.
Well, that was a jarring edit there, but for the most part, this is kind of what we're looking at right now. And you saw that chart, which was very, very telling. Exports to countries other than the United States have dropped, meaning we're not selling a whole lot to other clients right now. Even the stat that we're importing from other countries other than the United States is still around the same. Guess what? Nothing has changed except for the fact that we're not exporting as much as we were. This is the lie that we're being told at this point. We're going to find other trading partners. It's going to be all good. We're going to rely on someone else that's not the United States. Oh, guess what? Looks like we can't find anyone who we need to rely on, is what we are now discovering. And we're still importing the same amount that we were before. This on top of the Canada Homes announcement of we're going to build 4,000 homes at $3.2 million per home is leaving people scratching their head wondering what is going on. And this is the news that is breaking. This is the news that's being talked about. It's Mark Carney, where are you going? What are you doing? What is happening? You said you were the man for the crisis. You said you were the man with the plan. You were ready to deal with Donald Trump. You were ready to lead Canada through this time of crisis. You were ready to do what you had to do. And it's only been chaos, cash grabs, and empty promises. So it's only a matter of time till this starts catching up with the Canadian people and they realize that Carney isn't the person he claims to be. Was even talking anecdotally with some friends over the weekend who very much more left-wing supporters, indifferent on Carney, but whatever. He seems to be doing an okay job from their perspective. And then I kind of brought up the whole Canada Homes announcement. A, that no one's going to be owning these homes. These are going to be owned by somebody that's not us. And two, that they're going to build 4,000 homes at $13 billion, which works out to $3.2 million per home. And they said, that sounds like a terrible idea. I figured you could buy, I don't know, you could probably build more homes for that price. Couldn't you? I'm like, yeah, you probably could. Probably close to at least 6 times more than that. But this is what they're delivering, and this is what they claim to have promised here, folks. And it's getting absolutely wild, especially as it pertains to our relationship with the United States. Us making pretty ill thought out foreign policy decisions that, like what we made yesterday, is not going to help that relationship. And that is where I'll leave that. If you want to hear more about that segment and my take on that whole situation, if you get my drift, join me over on Rumble for that segment. The link is down in the comments. Have yourselves a good one. I'm out.